I'm going to do a more realistic drawing of Chewbacca. I already have done a little more cartoony version of him. But I mean, really, Chewbacca, he's really one of my favorites to draw. And so, I'm totally good with drawing more Chewbaccas. I'm going to start in a kind of a funny place. And I'm going to start with his eyes. I'm going from a little bit, just a little more realistic bent here, and so I've got some photo reference. I'm going to tighten this up, partially in the inking. This is one of my favorite shots of Chewbacca from Empire Strikes Back when he's on the planet Hoth. He's out in the snow. The wind's whipping around. Creates a different look for him. His fur's not all so clean and everything. He gets to be pretty cool out in the snow shooting Imperial probe droids.
He said probe.
Well, actually, I take that back. He didn't shoot it. Han shot it. The age-old adage of Han shot first still applies. He's got a lot of crazy hair with it blowing around like that. This kind of thing that, if you're up for like a lot of detail work, it's a fun thing to look at and try to work out. If you're in a hurry, it's maybe not the best idea. Actually, I'm kind of in a hurry today. So it's going to get a little crazy. Just kind of try to capture this in some quick strokes. If you ever take figure drawing, there's a process called gesture drawing. And usually gesture drawing is a way to capture something really fast. And it's good to try to get the energy of a pose or something that is, it's got some kinetic aspects to it, moving or just got some life to it. And a lot of times, those gesture drawings, they can be not super indicative of an artist's abilities, because sometimes they're so fast or they look so wild that they only capture a couple things. Like right now, I'm trying to harness a little bit of gesture drawing ideals in how this hair is moving. I just want it to be fast. I don't want it to have just a little bit of volume, but I want it to try to capture some motion. So I'm gonna go back in here and I'm gonna try to tighten everything up. But I still want it to have that movement. The best artists, their gesture drawings are awesome. I wish I was as good as those guys, because it's pretty amazing to see what somebody can capture in just a few strokes, especially the best artists. All right, so I'm going to do something unprecedented, and I'm going to jump right into some inking. Oops, I got to find the right pen. I'm going to get super crazy. I'm going to go ballpoint, and try to make some magic with Chewbacca here. I try to create some volume in the way I use these shapes. I'm also going to try to do a little bit of shading at the same time. That's why I like the ballpoint. I can still kind of sketch with it like a pencil, but there's certain things I can do with it to make it really tight, that even though you can do that with a pencil, I just like the feel of it with the ballpoint. Some people think that's crazy. They often say that, and I just heard it. But I like the effect a lot. If you kind of build up the area, I think it builds up in a way that you can't always build up with pencil. But I mean, I've seen super photorealistic pencil drawings. It does happen for sure. It's like the ballpoint sometimes, the feel of it. There's going to be a lot of extra detail that I'm going to try to capture quickly by using the ballpoint pen like I use pencils. I'm going to try to literally tighten up some of those gestural lines I left in for the hair and the fur. There's also going to be some things where I can kind of leave it cleaned up. It'll be a little tricky because in my photo reference there's some snow, and I don't want to necessarily like make blobs on here. So if I can kind of still hint that there's some snow, that'll be good. Sometimes people will add a lot more detail, and they'll really build up the area so it's really dark. Or maybe they'll use a couple different markers, and when that happens, you know, they'll covered all the white area. Like in this case, I'm trying to think of a way to leave the white as I work, but I mean, that can be tricky, and it's not always conducive to working fast. So, like I said, sometimes people they'll fill everything in. They'll do everything, and they'll take these special white gel pens, and they'll add the white highlights back in after, and it can actually create some wonderful effects. And sometimes it can help save your behind if you mess up something. I don't have to have my white gel pen on me, so we're going to do it the old-fashioned way. I'm going to try not to mess up. And try to add a little bit extra shadow around the eye here, because this is a good opportunity to use the shadows to highlight that area. I still want the eye to be an eye. I don't want to just fill it in black. There are a lot of artists that they have formulas for dealing with hair that they've worked out, and it can create some really beautiful results. I sadly do not have like anything that's super awesome as far as how to deal with hair. Myself, I try to look at it as volumes and areas, but I'm always fascinated by certain parts of it where, you know, like a hair will break off from the other ones, or maybe a smaller group of hair will break off from the other ones, and so I kind of want to capture that. But there's some very nice stylistic ways to do hair. The master Alphonse Mucha, his illustrations of hair are just amazingly beautiful. That's how he treats it. Really, a lot of it is it's literally constructed on the page. You can see all the gaps and the beautiful line work in his inking or his painting, and it's just amazing. And I've seen a lot of comic artists and graphic artists look back to that and how they deal with things, and I think it's definitely a great idea to see how he does it. I think some of it depends on the process you're using. So I'm actually going to try to bring just a little bit of that idea in here, or the Alphonse Mucha style. There's just no way for me to do that without practicing for about 5 years. I'll try to move this along a little bit. Add these volumes in. Chewie's just totally got crazy here in the wind. Leave it a little bit suggestive up there. Try to build up this eye a little bit more. The stuff that's going on around this eye a little bit more. Got his mouth and his teeth over here. Got that fur under there. And here I'm going to try to capture that movement with some more serious lines. You know, unlike pencil, these guys are here to stay. Just going to try to build up a little bit of volume to them. You know, you kind of have a little bit of see some of the fur here that goes up towards his chin. There's this piece that goes under it. It leaves a little bit of a gap, and then you can see some more of that fur that goes up to the chin area again. And maybe it even continues down here. That's the thing with hair, like when there's this much of it, you can really kind of, you can feel the density of it, you can feel the volume that it all has, and the amount of it. You can really do some pretty amazing things. Because I'm a little bit limited for time, I'm not going to go too much further with this one. But maybe see where I'm still building out that hair just a little bit. I just think about some of them that interest me a little bit. And then I gotta kind of build in that bandolier a little bit. I want to show some of that coming through the hair. Some of the things I've said about how that bandolier is constructed still come into play. It's all these little square cubes. I'll leave it at that. We got realistic looking Chewbacca rendered out with a little bit of ink pen. I think that's a pretty far cry from the pencil one underneath. A lot more detail came in.